In 1993, two older boys led a crying toddler named Jamie Bolger through a busy shopping center in England. Over 36 people saw them. Almost no one intervened. Jamie was later murdered. 24 years later, a college sophomore named Timothy Piazza sustained severe injuries during a fraternity hazing ritual. His friends watched over him for nearly 20 hours. By the time someone finally dialed 911, he had died from his injuries. This pattern of inaction extends into our professional institutions. In the medical field, a quality of care crisis has emerged, where patients describe being treated as pathological specimens rather than people, a byproduct of highly trained specialists operating with a profound emotional distance. It is easy to look at the silent witnesses in the shopping center, the fraternity brothers or the detached physicians, and label them as inherently bad people. But research suggests a more complex reality. Our public spaces, group dynamics, and professional training can act as a form of environmental programming, rewiring the brain to suppress empathy in favor of silence. This process often begins with de-individuation. In a crowd, our sense of individual identity and personal self-awareness begins to dissolve. We stop evaluating our own actions and start looking to the group for cues. Large groups and team mentalities specifically predict harsher behavior toward outsiders. During a 2012 party in Steubenville, Ohio, two high school football players assaulted an unconscious girl while other students shared photos without intervening. The group identity effectively replaced their individual moral judgment. Obedience to authority further paralyzes individual action. In Stanley Milgram's experiments, 65% of participants delivered maximum electric shocks to another person when instructed. This identifies a biological drive to shift responsibility to a leader, a dynamic that fueled mass compliance under the Nazi regime. EEG data shows following orders reduces neurological intensity. With repeated wrongdoing, the amygdala dims, desensitizing the brain. Zooming out, this creates the bystander effect. Alone, 85% helps someone in distress. With an audience, only 31% act. More witnesses means less personal responsibility. We stay silent because the cost of nonconformity is physical. Scans show that social exclusion activates the exact same regions of the brain as physical pain. To the brain, social rejection feels like a wound. What looks like apathy in a crisis is often a neurological defense mechanism. Our brains are prioritizing protection from social pain over the empathy required to help another. The medical field serves as a primary case study for how these dynamics become institutionalized within a profession. In the 20th century, the rise of evidence-based medicine reorganized the profession around scientific rigor. This push for hyper-technical competence changed how doctors perceive patients. This training often brackets out the patient's emotional life to focus on clinical data. Over time, it creates a culture where technical success is prioritized over the patient's illness experience, leading to a professional identity built on emotional detachment. Countering this requires patient-centered medicine, an approach where physicians must actively integrate a patient's fears, expectations, and personal narrative into the clinical method. When an institution values technical competence while structurally starving human care, professionalism is reduced to protocol. The moral courage required to treat a patient as a whole person is slowly stripped away. Breaking this cycle requires the conscious development of the moral rebel, someone who takes a principled stand against the group consensus. In a professional context, this rebel acts as a virtuous physician, practicing what is known as prudent love. This is the active synthesis of technical mastery and deep empathy, ensuring that clinical skill serves the patient's existential needs. Some institutions are already rewiring their cultures to support this behavior. The New Orleans Police Department's EPIC program trains officers to intervene when a colleague is on the verge of misconduct, redefining loyalty as the act of preventing a peer's mistake. Medical schools are also incorporating humanities curricula, using role-playing and simulations to rebuild the empathy that standardized training can erode. The presence of just one single dissenter is enough to shatter group compliance. In both the Milgram and Ash studies, when one person spoke up, the rate of bystander inaction plummeted. Research suggests it only takes 25% of a group to create a tipping point. Once that threshold of dissent is reached, the social norm can shift rapidly across the entire organization. Moral courage is a practiced skill rather than an innate trait. By learning a repertoire of responses, from direct statements to humor, individuals can override their default programming and establish a new standard of behavior within their groups.